And thanks for joining us, Maude. So, Maude Menant, who's the head of digital sales at Express-Roularta, and really just wanted to take 20 minutes or so to dig into some of the points which are raised on the challenge board. That's a good opportunity to dig into some of the points which have been raised before. I think one of the first questions I'd like to ask actually to both of you is the fact that, Charles, you were showing there, the desktop site and the sort of the way it's labelled and the sort of the environment which you're creating there, but increasingly a lot of the traffic's coming from the side door, isn't it? It's coming from, it's coming into small devices. It's coming direct to the article page rather than this sort of this beautiful microsite you've created. So I wondered, how is the actual, how is the way that people are reaching that content sort of changing the way you're managing the advertisers' expectations? We'll ask Charles first, and then come to Maude.
Well, much like the previous presentation and from the Financial Times, a large bulk, 50% of our traffic, also comes from mobile. So I think from an advertiser's point, I mean, mobile's all about one thing. It's all about the headline, period. As you're on your cell phone, you go down and you pick by headline what you're going to read. So interestingly, brand voice as a solution, which is headline-led, works extremely well because those headlines seamlessly flow in amongst the other headlines of the contributors and the journalists. So the platform is working particularly well for advertisers on mobile. Yeah,
and have you got to change the site design to sort of put disclosure into this long list of articles? Is it changing the way you sort of
not a change.
Manage the site?
I mean, all the time we're innovating and changing the design of the site. We have new article pages coming out in March. But again, because it's labelled, the audience knows who's talking. So it's the headline, and then underneath that it's written by SAP Voice or written by Chris, editor or contributor.
Right. Yeah. Maude, have you got a thought to add on that one?
Yes, hello everybody. Concerning l'Express, well, the way we wanted to take position on native advertising, first of all, is a global thinking between editors, advertisers, audience and technical teams. As a result, our big bet on this is to be able to provide contents that are propagated both on mobile and desktop websites. Our mobile audience is 1/3 of the traffic, so we had to be there too, and we reshaped the offer beginning 2015 to be able to go in-app, which is more confidential, of course, but important still for reaching all of our audience.
Yeah, and so, the topic of mobile is sort of intrinsically linked with social, and I suppose an advertiser might have been happy to have the article on site and be confident that people would discover it. But as I say, this sort of coming in through the side and through sort of rather than sort of through the homepage, are you having to work much harder to find, to get that content out onto social, and are advertisers sort of increasingly demanding that?
I mean, we want to be able to give people content on, Forbes content on whatever platform they want to use. That's been a strategy that's been in place for, since we probably really launched the site. That's been a long-term strategy. So there's not so much a concern about what, necessarily where they're coming from. I mean, it's increasingly. It is tricky maintaining desktop traffic, and the growth is certainly in mobile and tablet, which is, mobile is so, important for us. Yeah. And for all, it's come up loads in the conversations here with other publishers.
Yeah, yeah. What?
Well, we've reached recently the 1 million of fans of Facebook, which is a number here in the ocean. Interesting thing behind this is the interaction, the time spent, the number of comments, the actual life and exchange between the contents and the social life of L'Express in Facebook. Today we are being very selective on what native advertising is going in the social network, because there's some trust between, it's another editorial line, if I may say, and we are being very selective for what's put out there.
Forbes, is it, Charles, is it, sorry, is it the...
Sadly not, not Mr. Forbes.
Are you sort of, is it, you sort of, is there an expectation that you'll post the same amount of brand voice content as editorial content on your social channels?
I mean, anytime, again, you can go on the site, you can see how many stories we've posted. So, rough estimate, maybe we've done 200 stories today. I don't know, I haven't looked at the site this morning, but out of that, I would estimate maybe 3%, 2% might be brands that have posted stories. So the good thing is there's a huge room for us to take many, many more brand voice partners on the site.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, just on the on the sort of, again, on the issue of what agencies are increasingly asking for, can you both give us a sense of whether it's still this the CPM based model which you're transacting on, whether it's sponsorship? Can you give us an idea of the mix and how that's changed?
Sure. I mean, every RFP has the word native on these days. I sometimes wonder whether or not the person that's written it, what their understanding of native is, of course, differs, and it differs from publisher to publisher. I will say, one of the challenges of selling brand voice, and more so in the European marketplace, is, from an agency point of view, it doesn't fit on a spreadsheet because you're not buying any advertising. You're paying a license fee to publish content on our site, and that doesn't fit on the Excel spreadsheet of the other 10 sites they use where they're buying a load of impressions. I also think there's, for us and my team here, it's much more of a longer-term consultative sell with the client, and the client's getting their head around. The clients feel more fixated on paying. They want to pay us to write about what they do, which of course is the direct opposite of what we're saying brand voice is. That's a tricky, but that doesn't happen in the US. I say we have 60 brand voice partners, probably 54 of them have been out of the States.
And is the business increasingly client direct? Is there a difference between the sorts of conversations you have with a media agency, a PR agency is getting involved and starting to own this relationship between you and the advertiser?
So, I'll use an example. Statoil, the Norwegian oil firm, is currently a brand voice partner, and there's no one within Statoil, there's no thought leader within Statoil that uses the platform to publish. In this instance, they have recruited their PR company to produce content, and they're not press releases, but it's interesting to see how their content is pacing versus a brand that has sort of thought leaders or individuals within the business posting content.
Yeah. Maude, is the mix of business coming your way changing? Whether it's advertiser direct or media agency.
The big difference between our two offers here as editors is that we haven't created a unique model for native advertising. Basically, the two pillars we stand on is either there is existing editorial content that fits with where the advertiser wants to be, and he comes as a sponsor to this content, and the other pillar is content doesn't exist. Still, we help him to create to build up the environment for him to express his what he has to say, storytelling or whatever. But in both cases, what the advertiser is looking after is how we are going to shape his content marketing strategy around integration, of course, native media. How do we address the content? All the measurements we have behind, time spent, viewed videos, spent, and for both of them, the creativity behind the content, how is it going to interest the audience at the end?
Yeah, fine.
So they're most looking after how we are going to build up this strategy. So talking about money, it's a mix between CPM and content creation, and it's never the same model.
Fine. Are you question for both of you here is the sort of content marketing side of the operation, are you trying to integrate that with things like data management platforms? Are you trying to sort of extend the reach of these content campaigns with content recommendation type widgets, retargeting? How much of these sort of those two sides of the business interacting, and are you hopeful that there'll be more opportunity to do so? Maude?
This is where technology and integration has its limit. In order to be able to provide the good native content to the good people, we had to create an advertising position so that it matches with the data managing platform. Right. And from the learnings we have from the feedbacks of what they like, what the audience like, what the audience is, what kind of content they are engaged to. We are building a media native strategy to provide the content through, so it can be feeds, homepage, it can be channels, it can be newsletters. There are different ways, but it's interesting how between the time we created the offer in 2011 and today, 2015, data has become more and more, content marketing has become more and more data-driven.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and
I mean, it's vital, and it plays an important part of what we're able to feed back into the brand voice partners. They have access to two different dashboards. They have one dashboard which is the same dashboard that a journalist used, the content management system. But they also have access to, we work with a partner called Simple Reach, who provide an inordinate amount of data and analytics around all of the brand voice partners' posts as the content moves across the web, who's sharing it, all the way down to individual or a particular group. And that allows us to give a little bit more of it allows them to put more of a sort of an earned media value. So, the more and more data we can accumulate for these brand voice partners, the more and more value that the partnership becomes.
Yeah, fine. And are you using data to sort of, listen to sort of user satisfaction in this process? Is there an opportunity to, do sort of multivariate testing, which John was talking about? Those sorts of practices being applied to the content marketing side of things. You've got audience development teams. That's something that Stavros talked about yesterday. How much is that sort of that digital marketing muscle being applied to your content offerings?
Please.
Yeah. I mean, who wants to take that one? It's a tricky.
Again, it is important as I try and think of what my answer is going to be to that.
Have you hired specialists in that area? Are you hiring sort of? We posted like jobs like growth hacker and all these sorts of digital marketing jobs are being brought into the newsroom and into these content studios. Not yet, I'm guessing.
No, I mean, the brand newsroom grows, and we're investing considerable resources into that. I don't think we've got anyone with the title of growth hacker, but I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, in the future.
I think it's hard to compare from a user experience. We are trying to respect the user by indicating that it's sponsored content or not. But it's hard to get a real feedback from either it works better than display or video campaigns, or because the only metrics we can compare is the click-through. And we don't want to go on this kind of comparison. It's not the purpose.
Yeah.
But we do have very successful content marketing operations that are judged on time spent. We have some lifestyle websites around L'Express, and we have reached time spent 2 or 3 times longer than editorial content, actually. So we think for some clients, we have reached a very good affinity between what story we created around and what the user was expecting as a service, as a information. And, well, that's one point we can compare, but it's hard to say.
So just before we go to questions, can you give us an idea of you know, the share of your digital share of digital revenue or sales that native is now, and where you want it to be, and your sort of your goals going forward? How big of a sort of how big of a deal?
I mean, I'm obviously not going to give out any specific numbers, but I can tell you, I would estimate this year that 60% of our revenues will be online versus offline, and of that 60%, I would expect brand voice to be contributing, say, 30 to 35%. As I said, there's a huge amount of room for us to take more and more brand voice partners on, and it is an integral part of our overarching native strategy.
Yeah. What?
So as I said, we built up the content marketing team and all the advertising solutions around in 2011, and closing 2014, we're very happy to see that it's reached more than 1/3 of our digital revenues. So 60 campaigns, new clients, and also more than half fidelity, that coming 1 year and coming back the year after this. So it's going to go bigger again this year, but with a big challenge of keeping creative and running the team. Well, it's a really different process of production as Forbes, and it takes a lot of resources from my team, from the audience team, from the integration team, from the journalist, of course. So, well.
Yeah, good. You got any questions for the panel? Got some microphones on either side. Yeah, we've got one here.
How are they handling the pricing, and how are you guys handling the pricing?
So brand voice is a tenancy fee-based model. Publishers and there's no advertising in that. That's to publish content on the site. That's the full license fee. There's also, I guess, for brands that are taking sort of baby steps, as it were, or not quite sure of where it's going to head, we also have a package which is called Brand Voice Stories. That entitles them, they get the same Brand Voice page, they get 4 posts, and that costs $125,000. That $125,000 is backed into a digital campaign.
So there's no page view guarantee or what,
It's about writing good content. You write good content, that'll rise to the top.
Cool. I think we're out of time, so please give a round of applause for my panel. Thank you.